In this movie, we will learn how to animate a logo backwards. It will start in pieces and come together to form the design. From the last movie, we already have our initial keyframes set. They are set at 8 seconds and mean that all of the transform properties are activated and ready for animation. If we change the values of those properties before or after 8 seconds, we will have animation of that property. Let's click on the black arrow tool and then move each letter off the screen in various directions with the blue time marker set at 0. So I'm just moving them off randomly in different directions. Now be careful not to grab a letter by its edge because that will cause some pretty crazy distortions. So now we have 2 keyframes on each position property. If I select all with a Command or Control A and then hit letter P, I see I have 2 position keyframes on each letter. And we have animation of the letters coming together. Let's make this look more interesting by adding scale and rotation animation. Move the current time marker to a point where most, if not all, of the letters are visible. Then, using the rotation tool, which is this one, rotate the pieces in different directions. The O is going to be pretty subtle. Alright, to make things even more interesting, let's also animate their scale. Feel free to use the black arrow tool to distort your letters, or you can just simply select your letters, hit letter S for scale, and then adjust their values using the finger. Smaller and bigger. It'll make for some nice variation. Can scroll down, make some big, some small. Now let's take those extra keyframes that we made, and in order to see all your keyframes, select all your layers and hit letter U for show you all your keyframes, and select all of these middle ones that we created and slide them over to the beginning. And at the beginning, we're still seeing that letter G, so I'm going to take that letter G with my black arrow tool and move him off screen. There we go. Now they're rotating and scaling into position. We can play back by pressing 0 on the number pad. We have to wait for this green bar to complete going all the way across. This means that the frames of the animation are loaded into the computer's RAM. But even though it seems to be playing at real time, and we can check that by clicking on the Info tab here and pressing 0 once more. It says it's playing at real time. It's going very slowly. Also, we're getting some weird edges here, so just make sure that all of your layers have that starburst enabled. So, how do we fix the problem of the animation being too slow? The less time we give something to move a set distance, the faster it will have to move. In terms of keyframes, the closer together you put the keyframes, the faster the layer moves. The more spaced out or spread out your keyframes are in time, the slower the layer moves. So let's move the keyframes from 8 seconds to an earlier point. I'd like to move them to 1 second 15 frames. To do this, click on the current time code and type in 115. Or 1 second 15 frames. Next, with your black arrow tool, draw a box around all those keyframes that are currently at 8 seconds. Then, click drag one of those keyframes over toward the blue time slider, and while it's moving, as you get closer, hold down the Shift key and you'll feel those keyframes magnetically snap to the current time marker. The order is select your keyframes, slide them, hold shift down, and then snap. Select, slide, shift, and snap. Next, I'm going to move the end of my work area earlier so that the rendered area when I do my RAM preview by hitting 0 on the number pad will happen a lot more quickly. I press 0, the green bar loads, and that's a much better animation. In the next movies, we will learn how to animate the same logo forwards, which would be starting together and then bursting apart, and how to further finesse our keyframe animations using eases, motion paths, and other timing strategies.